It is clear we both deeply care about this outcome. Let us pause for a moment to strip back the emotion and evaluate the objectives. So here we're lowering the tension, we're addressing the fact there's emotion, and our aim here is to move forward in a productive way. All right, we're highlighting we're on the same team and that emotions are probably high. You might not want to mention that everybody's emotions are high, not directly in that way. Okay, the next one. Let's step away from our personal perspective. Often we're all quite focused on our own perspective, our own choices and our own hard work. So let's step away from our own perspective for a moment and focus on entirely on what is the best strategic interest for the company. Yeah, again, we're recognizing the energy in the room. We're calling awareness to it so we can see it and focusing again on our priority. So these are very similar, but they work very effectively at de-escalating tensions because we're all very passionate about our work. Okay. Instead of focusing on what happened, let us channel our energy into what steps are required to rectify the problem. So that's pretty straightforward again. The blame is not the issue here. What we want to do is move forward. We want to grow. We want to fix the problem. So blame is not our current prioritizing, our priority. Fixing the problem is. Again, this is redirecting the energy, the passion, the time and the focus away from how it happened, what happened, who's to blame, and let's just get this thing fixed. Let's get it resolved. Let's get back to making money, for example. All right. We both bring a valuable experience to this meeting. Let's focus on how we can integrate our perspectives rather than forcing a bad compromise. Now, this is often a situation that happens that you reach a stalemate and maybe people that are best interest at heart, maybe they want the best. They want you and you to work together and to cooperate, but they often are happy or quick to go to a compromise. And a compromise isn't always the best thing. So a compromise often means you get half of this and half of that, or it could be the bad half of this and the bad half of that, making a really bad decision. So instead of doing this compromise, just step away from the problem and then look at how the decisions and your expertise will best fix the issue and suit the company for making steps forward. Because you're both very, very expertise, very, very highly accomplished, both increasingly valuable to the company, and that value needs to be brought together to make a bigger than both. So it's elevating both of you together instead of diluting half of the good of each. That's the key concept there. All right. Another thing I wanted to say actually is this one down here. A few words you can change to maybe help the either party feeling victimized or blaming. So instead of saying you did this and you did that and you're to blame and focusing on that one individual, take you out of it. Use the word we or the situation. All right? The situation was not perfect. The situation was not the best time. So it's the situation, not an individual. But you did this, but this happened, but that happened. All right? But is not an ideal word. From another's perspective. So if you want to challenge somebody about their reasoning for doing something, instead of them saying, oh, but this happened and this happened, but, the other person could say, from another perspective, this is how I viewed it. this is the information I had. But is not a good word. It sort of dilutes down any reasons or accountability. But if you talk about perspective and intention without using the word but, is much stronger. You know, it makes you, especially if you're having to do it, it makes you have more authority from a better standpoint, because you're not using younger language, you're using more professional language, and you're talking about facts and figures and the perspective and the advantages, etc. All right. If you hadn't have done this, if you hadn't have done that, if you hadn't have done the other thing, then we wouldn't be in this situation. So instead of saying, if you hadn't, again, looking at blaming and accusing, these are not ideal words. If you hadn't. There was indicators. There was, very much like this one down here, there was indicators. There was red flags. There was data to suggest, like this one down here. Well, I am open to suggestions. So if somebody is being accusing you or saying you didn't do this or you didn't do that, you can turn it around. Instead of saying, well, defending yourself, well, this happened and this happened and this happened, you can say, I'm open to suggestions. What ideas have you got? What suggestions? Are you volunteering? Are you going to put in some time to do this? So turn it from a negative where people might be accusing you to looking for a fix to the problem, a solving the problem, and whether that person wants to add their time, their energy, their money to fix with suggestions and ways of moving forward. And then the last one, I told you. So instead of saying that, again, very accusatory, very negative, gets people's backs up. I want to fight now. Verbally, obviously. That's not a positive thing. You hear this a lot in relationships between a man and a wife. I told you, blah, blah, blah. Not ideal. So data suggests a different outcome. Again, we're turning it away from the person and turning it more into facts and figures about the data, about research, about other opinions, other perspectives. All right, so moving it from the person to facts and figures and data are more concrete. It's less accusatory. So that's, again, very similar to this one. Very good ways of de-escalating, taking out the accusatory aspect and looking at data to be more professional, calm, and focusing on fixing a problem and coming out with a good solution to help the company move forward, grow, etc. And last but not least, 3 very, very important aspects when you are a manager or you're in control, the CEO, you're the authority in the room. You must breathe. It's so easy to get worked up and wound up and infected by other people and their energy. Remembering to breathe. A gentleman is always calm, always slow down. If you can slow down, will make you look more authoritative. You're not getting flustered and angry and blaming people and being animated and moving a lot. You're slowing down, breathing. You're a gentleman. You're a professional. Like I said, staying calm. You don't want to antagonize anybody. You don't want to be raising your voice. You want to be known for the calm, clear, assertive, and, like it said, a gentleman, a professional. And speak slowly. Anybody that has authority or has power, like a prince, a king, an MP, they speak slowly to allow the other person to understand and digest what has been said. And again, it also reflects back that you are in control, you're calm, and you're a gentleman, you're a professional. Speaking slowly is what high power people do. Simple as that. And maybe put your hands like this. All right. So bear that in mind. If you have any other thoughts, anything you'd like to add, please mention in the comments below. See you next time.